we're right in front of the EMR platforms at St Pancras Station, and I'm heading up to Bedford because quite possibly in the near future there could be a brand new Universal Studios theme park. So I'm going to head up towards Bedford, then down to Kempston Hardwick to see the site. Let's go. Now I know that this video is completely unrelated, but most of this video is somewhat related to trains, so it's not such a big deal. But anyway, let's head up to Bedford. These trains actually used to be former Heathrow Connect services, but when the Elizabeth line started taking over Heathrow Connect, these trains could actually be cascaded onto the local suburban EMR Connect services to Corby, which is pretty amazing. We're out of St Pancras. And down there, behind the trees and this lake, is where the new Universal Park would be built. And they've already started to dig trenches, and for archaeological reasons and geological as well. And there could be a brand new mainline station to serve this Universal Park, which I'll talk about later. Yeah, in the distance over there, you can see a West Midlands Class 150 arriving. And that'll be the train we can take to Kempston Hardwick. And be aware that Marston Vale Line is Bletchley to Bedford and runs only Monday to Saturday. There's no Sunday service, which is quite dumb to me. The Marston Vale Line actually used to use Class 230 trains that were ex-London Underground D-stock trains, but they're sadly going to be transferred onto the Greenford branch. I think it's battery trains, because Viva Rail went into administration for some reason. So here's my Class 150, which will form the next train to Bletchley.
The next station is Kempston Hardwick.
The station is like just a simple halt, that's it. Welcome to Kempston Hardwick, 2 stops down the line from Bedford on the Marston Vale line, and the area that side around the station has actually already been purchased by the Universal Company. So I'll talk about this, but first I'll have my packed lunch, then I'll explain about the project, but in person and as a voiceover. And on the Bedford side of the station, there's a level crossing here, which I find fascinating. And the station does have a shelter, a help point in some modern style, got dot matrix indicators, or in this case PIS screens, passenger information displays, and you also got a rail replacement bus stop, and got the map here of the local area, and as you can tell, it's in the literal middle of nowhere at the moment. And look, you got Stewartby, Millbrook, Lidlington, Richmond, Asby Guys, which is the other least used station on this line. Then got Woburn Sands, Bow-Brick Hill, Fenny Stratford, not to be confused with Stratford, Stratford-upon-Avon, Stratford International, you name it, those stations, and Bletchley, where you can connect onto the West Coast Main Line, onto Northwestern services to London Euston, and up to Milton Keynes and Northampton. And then you also have trains to Bedford St John's and Bedford, platform 2, which is where that shelter is. And you notice that the Bedford platform, which is platform 2, is much longer than this one. I don't know why. And the line is fully diesel, it's not electrified. So they use diesel rail cars to operate. But here's the help point here, which is in northwestern form, which I love. Got a Tesla. Very billion car. Right, so you got a reader here, but National Rail smart card's valid here, but Oyster not valid at the station. We're way outside the Oyster boundary, so why the hell did they have Oyster not valid? Okay, but they do allow contactless, as you can tell by this brackets and the card symbol. So be warned, we use drones equipped with night vision and thermal imaging cameras to help us prosecute those who commit crime on our railway. Our drone teams operate 24/7, 365 days a year, ready to catch criminals in the act. No one can outrun a drone, so they are being competent at their job, just being rather sinister. But they are doing their job, so be warned of that. Right, I'm gonna cross here. It's going to be quite dangerous, but thankfully there are no trains, so I'm just going to rush across it. And we're here, on the other side. And this is the entrance into the other platform, down here. Also got a ticket machine here. Almost no one would ever use this. And nice arable farmland here, which is good. And in the distance is, I think, the A421, which is included in the 476 acres that Universal purchased. I just had my packed lunch. I'm still at Kempston Hardwick. Now let's talk about the plans for the Universal Studios Park. So, currently, Universal Studios have 5 resorts across the world. They are Hollywood, Orlando, Japan, Beijing, and Singapore. 3 in Asia and 2 in North America. So there is certainly some demand and scope for a new European resort. So let's talk about it. This wasn't actually the first time Universal proposed a theme park for Europe. What? You're joking, right? I'm not joking, I'm being serious. So, back in 1990, Universal planned to build a park in Europe to compete alongside Disneyland Paris. So they looked at a few sites around the 2 famous European cities, which are Paris and London. London, they looked at the Rainham Marshes site, which, as we all know, it's abandoned. But then they looked at a site in Seine-Marne near Paris, but ultimately that got cancelled due to the flop of Disneyland Paris during its opening in 1992. And as you all know, it was actually threatened to close, that park, but thankfully it's open. But why they chose Euro Disney to be in France is beyond me. Why did they choose the UK? So it is a very attractive market for a new theme park, And it has a large population, creative industries, strong tourism, transportation infrastructure, and even links to Europe, which is very cool. And so this selling point, which is near Bedford in Kempston Hardwick, is only about 45 minutes from London by the Midland Main Line from St Pancras. And that is actually wonderful. And they also plan to have Universal Studios, if it ever gets built, as a annual theme park. But whereas like the other UK theme parks, which are managed by Merlin Entertainment, which include Alton Towers and Legoland Windsor and Thorpe Park, they all operate seasonally, which is just such a dumb idea. And why Bedford of all places? So, yeah, Bedford, as I said, is about 45 minutes from London via the Midland Main Line. And it's about 20 minutes from Luton Airport. And it's also like 2 hours from like Scotland and Wales, and also about an hour from Manchester, Liverpool, Sheffield, you name it, those regions of England. So it's quite a big deal. So the site they purchased is around here on the eastern side of the station, and it's about 476 acres of land. So it's quite a lot, and much of the land, I'm looking at the Universal UK Project PDF, they say it will include the A421, which suggests that they're doing some upgrades to it to allow for a slip road access to the theme park. And it would also include an upgrade to the Junction 13 of the A421 and the M1, which is already rubbish if you've ever been there, of course, which I've never been there. So this park also respects the local history of Bedford when it gets built. So, and it had a history of brickworks and even like several different industries, and even like you also have vibrant culture with food, drinks, etc. themed around this area. So when the park opens, it would have 80,000 new jobs. 80,000 would be introduced. That's like a hefty number, and it's almost like the population of Bedford, which is about 107,000, and that's quite a lot. So I just want to talk about what is actually going into the Universal theme park. So as you know, Universal have released a concept art of it, if you have seen it, of course, which I'll flash it up on screen now. And it would include the famous classic arch, which would act as the entrance into the theme park. But before that, it would include a transportation hub and also the movement of Kempston Hardwick Station. So it would possibly, if I just put my phone down, it would possibly be moved down there in the distance, about like 400 yards down there. So it could be quite a big deal, and it would also be upgraded to allow for, you know, a much easier step-free access into the theme park. So according to the indicative master plan, so it's divided into 4 different zones. You've got a West Gateway zone, a core zone, a lake zone, and an East Gateway zone. So judging by the core zone, what they have is that you can have the famous arch entrance into the park, which, as I said, would act as the entrance, and there would be 2 different gates into the park. So the first one would just be a theme park split into different themed lands, and it would include like a Veloci roller coaster, a Hulk coaster, etc., etc. Those different types of coasters that you see at the other Universal parks, like Universal in Florida, and even also Hollywood. And the second gate would be a second theme park, and also like a CP zone, which is a car park to allow for parking different cars from the A421, which would come in. Wait, if I just turn the GoPro this way, so the A421, you can hear the noise of it in the distance. So there would be a slip road which would come in here, and then it would enter the car park, and then it would have an entrance nearby into the Universal Park. So, and it would also act as a second gate for it, which would include things like a Super Nintendo world, which is kind of cool, which would feature characters like Mario, Luigi, Princess Peach, Bowser, you name it, those characters. Alright, so according to the Lake Zone bit of the park, it would have like a mixed-use development, which would contain retail, entertainment, dining, and entertainment venues like theaters and cinemas. So that's just what you would find at every resort across the world, and especially since it's like near a lake, which would increase tourism. And judging to the East Gateway Zone, there would be a new Wixom's railway station built on the main line, which would be served by EMR Connect services from St Pancras, as well as local Thameslink services. And also in the core zone of the park, there will also be a second hotel with like a 500-bed hotel with retail, dining, and entertainment, which makes me suspect that there could be the Universal City Walk shopping center built on that site, which is basically the downtown Disney equivalent of a Universal theme park. Now, how would people travel to the site? So, obviously they could drive by car from London, but that takes ages. Let's say about an hour, 45 minutes to an hour from central London via the M1 and the A421. But they have to upgrade the junction in order to meet the needs of that traffic flow at that stupid junction. But anyway, so according to the train, you would have... So around 10% would drive to the site, with a further 25% as train passengers. So you would, this also includes East-West Rail, which would be absorbed into the Marston Vale line, and which is a new East-West Rail project from Oxford to Cambridge, avoiding London altogether. So it's quite a big deal. And as I said, there will be a new Wixom's railway station as well, which would have a direct mainline rail access to the theme park, not a branch line access. But speaking of branch line access, they're actually, I think, going to move Kempston Hardwick, this current station, and to a new site, which I already mentioned earlier. But they could possibly move Stewartby as well, along with this Kempston Hardwick, into a new Universal station to serve this park, which... Yep, I think they could possibly merge the two stations, and by the way, those two stations are quite close to each other if you look on Google Maps. So it makes sense to merge them if this park gets built. So Universal have already purchased the land around the station to allow for, the theme park to be constructed, and they've already did 2 public consultations on it, one on the 16th and one on the 19th. And you actually have until about the 3rd of May to submit your feedback to them. So I'll put a link in the description down below if you're interested. But this is interesting. So, if Universal can make a final decision, that being positive, by June 2024, they'll be given the green light and construction will hopefully start in 2025 and will be finished in 2030. So it's quite quick, actually, if I'm being honest. Anyway, my train is at 2:16, so I guess I'll wait for it, but there is a train at 1:57, which I'm going to video now. And the train is passing near to the site of where the new Kempston Hardwick station would be if the Universal Park were to be built. It's passing it now. And one more thing I wanted to discuss about is that Universal Resorts are in like the same country or city as their rivals Disney resort parks are. So like in that case, like Hollywood, the Universal in Hollywood is like in the same like city proper region of the Disneyland resort in Anaheim, California. And in the same case, Orlando, with its Universal Resort, is very close to Walt Disney World in Lake Buena Vista. And also, you also have Japan, with its Universal Resort in Osaka. That's only a 2-hour Shinkansen ride over to Tokyo, and then from there to Tokyo Disney. But with regards to Europe, I would actually want a new Disneyland resort to open in UK along with Universal, but only if like Paris can maintain the growth of their Disney park. But yeah, that still annoys me why they put it there, because the park is brilliant there. Here's our train, it's coming. It's another class 150. So now I want to talk about what is actually it would include a wait, what? Okay, they might be doing some, okay, apologies for that. And on the East Gateway Zone, okay, well, so, yeah, and it would have a train like every 40 minutes, I think. 10. Yeah, like every 10 minutes in each direction. Yeah, according to my maths, of course. But we have the West Gateway Zone next, and wait, I already talked about this.